Welcome to Max and Murphy on WBAI Radio. This is Ben Max from Gotham Gazette. Jarrett Murphy is on vacation this week, as he announced last week when I was out, and he manned the show on his own. And I'm here this week, but I'm not alone. I'm here with Gotham Gazette senior reporter Summer Khurshid. Thanks for being here.
And nice to be here.
So it's great to have you for your first time with us on WBAI. If you haven't seen the work that Summer does for us at Gotham Gazette, you should obviously be reading his work. Just great reporting on city and state politics and government. It's good to have him here. So for today's show, we're actually doing something a little bit different than we've done the last several weeks on this show, where we've had a lot of candidates for office. We're going to get back to that format next week. We have some candidates coming on next week and the following before the September 13th primary. And if you're not ready to vote, you got to get ready to vote. You can obviously check out all our work at GothamGazette.com. You should look at citylimits.org and lots of other publications and broadcasts for information as we gear up for those primaries. And it's, of course, worth noting that just about every primary that's happening is in the Democratic side, although there is the Reform Party is allowing unaffiliated voters to vote in their primaries, and they have a primary for Attorney General. So if you are registered to vote but not with a party, you can actually show up at the polls on September 13th and vote in the Reform Party primary for Attorney General. But most of the races are on the Democratic side, and we'll return to some of those next week. But this week, you have both myself and Summer talking about some of the recent news in election season here, as we're closely following the statewide Democratic primaries for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, and then a whole bunch of state legislative races headlined by these races where former members of the State Senate Independent Democratic Conference are being challenged in the primaries. And of course, on this program, we've had a few sets of those candidates, and we'll be getting back to that next week. Today, we're talking about those races, and we're also going to be joined very shortly by Mara Gay of the New York Times editorial board. And Mara will join us to discuss both the editorial board's recent endorsement of Zephyr Teachout in the Attorney General primary, as well as her take on what's happening in the gubernatorial race and the race for lieutenant governor. If you missed our last couple of shows, like I said, we've dug into both a number of those state Senate primaries, and we've had all four Democrats running for Attorney General on the program in the last several weeks, so you can catch those in our podcast stream or the WBAI archives. Before we bring Mara on, Summer is here, and we're going to talk just a little bit about a forum last night that I co-moderated where Summer came and he covered it, and we talked with gubernatorial candidate Cynthia Nixon. It was a forum in Brooklyn in Sunset Park. Governor Cuomo was invited, but he declined to participate. And myself and Medina Torre from Politico New York asked Cynthia Nixon a whole bunch of questions in front of a couple hundred people. And Summer was there, wrote about it for Gotham Gazette. But what were a couple of your takeaways from seeing Cynthia Nixon in person, taking our questions there in Brooklyn?
So Cynthia Nixon sort of started with her stump speech, pitching herself as the Albany outsider who would come in and shake up the system that's been just hasn't changed in the last 8 years, almost 8 years under Governor Cuomo. And that's been sort of her entire campaign as an insurgent, running on a very unabashedly progressive platform, calling herself, accepting the moniker of Democratic Socialist. And that's sort of the pitch that she made to nearly 300 people in this forum yesterday. There was a couple of very interesting things that she said, especially when she was pushed on some of her answers on. For instance, she said she's not seeking the endorsement. She's not actively seeking the endorsement of Mayor Bill de Blasio, who has been one of her. She's been a very prominent ally of the mayor. She campaigned for him. She corralled celebrity support for his initiatives. She was on stage.
She helped him get elected in 2013, no question about it.
She was on stage for both his inaugurations.
Right, on the stage, yes, at City Hall.
And the mayor has been sort of on the fence. He hasn't made clear if he's going to make an endorsement yet. And that's been a bit surprising to everyone who's seen how close they are, especially with the recently released emails between